Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. Today is Wednesday, June 25th, and we're glad you can join us this evening. I'll begin with calling the meeting to order. Now I'd like to welcome Pastor Chuck Arson of Bunker Hill United Methodist Church to lead us in an invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us pray. God of grace and of mercy, we come before you today with hearts full of gratitude for the opportunity to gather as servant leaders of this community. Thank you for the privilege of working together to serve the people of Kernersville. We ask for wisdom and guidance and discernment as decisions are made. We pray for peace in our community, for strong relationships among our neighbors, the well-being of all who call this town home. May we seek your will above our own, and may our actions bring glory to you and to those we serve. We ask for your presence to guide this meeting, be with each one in this work, that any decisions that are made, that we may do so with honor and a sense of responsibility to those you have entrusted to our care. In your holy name, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. So as mayor, on behalf of the board, it's an honor and a privilege for us to recognize important people, important causes, and special events and occasions in our community. And July is very special because it is Parks and Recreation Month in Kernersville. It's a national observance, but our Kernersville Parks and Recreation Department has grown and changed over the years and is a lot more than providing sports fields. They're responsible for a significant amount of turf and grass in our town and the maintenance of it and keeping it beautiful, flowers and wildlife, and of course sports. Indoor recreation now significantly in a major way with our new Parks and Recreation building, and outdoor recreation where Kernersville has traditionally had a lot of strength. So we have some of the members of our Parks and Rec staff and our director, Ernie Pages, who's been with the town for a long time now, and I'll ask them to come forward for a proclamation recognizing Parks and Recreation Month. So welcome, everybody. It's a great opportunity to celebrate Parks and Recreation Month. I think we're kicking it off with some of the hottest days of the year, but it's going to be a cool time at Parks and Rec this summer. We've already kicked off summer camps for children that really help school teachers, police officers, and others in our community who work and play in our town, but for their children, and a really successful summer camp program for children. And the other day I was going by the Parks and Rec building and saw children lined up having Kona ice as part of Kernersville Parks and Rec. So it's a cool summer for the children participating. Our town's parks and recreation programs are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of our community. We have a lot of major tournaments that happen at Kernersville facilities. We're very proud that we can be the host of very important events like the state cross-country meet and other programs now, especially at our indoor Parks and Rec building. Parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for individuals who have mental, physical, or sensory disabilities, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. Our Parks and Recreation Department is involved in active and passive recreation, and we do have special considerations for people with sensory sensory issues so that they can play and enjoy their time with the programs and the outdoor facilities that we have. Parks and Rec programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. Every now and then you'll see an article in the newspaper or a magazine where some business person is interviewed about what they love about Kernersville or memories they have about growing up in Kernersville. And one I remember specifically was that they remembered going to the Honeybee Festival. So those programs, that Honeybee Festival, a very long-running festival going since 1975 in our community, just show the impact that our parks programs have on the community and on people's memories and feelings about the town of Kernersville. Whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, and provide habitat for wildlife. Whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our town and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and spend time outdoors. Now, therefore, I, Dawn Morgan, as Mayor of Kernersville and on behalf of the board, do hereby proclaim July 2025 as Parks and Recreation Month in the town of Kernersville. And Ernie, we appreciate your involvement and we appreciate your awesome staff that makes this a reality day to day for our citizens. So thank you all very much for all of your efforts. I know that after Ernie's remarks, all the board members are going to want to shake your hands. So thank you for being here and thank you for what you do to make Kernersville great. We appreciate you.
Thank you. So the National Parks and Recreation Association each year comes out with a theme for Parks and Recreation Month. And this year's theme is Build Together, Play Together, which is appropriate for Kernersville because we've built a lot of things in this past, since 2023, Civic Towns Park renovation, the expansion of Ivy Redmond Sports Complex, the introduction of the Recreation Event Center, and soon to come a community pool. I'll make sure I mention that. But none of that can be done without having a great team, and I want to take a moment and recognize the team that I've got here. It's not all of them, but it's a great majority of them. So first I have Will Mabe, he's our park superintendent. Jeff Comer's our maintenance worker for us. I'm blanking. Justin, he's an athletic coordinator with us. Brandon is also an athletic coordinator. Ashley Sinclair, who came from us with the chamber, but now is our program and event manager. Devin is the garden curator. For those of you who may not recognize or know, we also operate the Paul J. Senior Botanical Garden. We've got John Knight with us. He's our turf specialist. Well, actually, no, take that back. You're another grounds specialist. He takes care of everything that is horizontal in our parks, playgrounds, turf, fields, grasses, all that stuff. We got Robert Avery, who is our facilities supervisor. He takes care of everything that's vertical in nature, playgrounds, buildings, facilities, walls, so on and so forth. And then Nicole Smith, who's our horticultural specialist or supervisor that takes care of all the trees and plantings throughout town that you see. So that's my team. And like I said, it can't be done with all of them pitching in just as equally all together to get it all done.
So you're saying everything from the welcome sign to the fireworks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everything from the welcome sign to the fireworks to the Honeybee festivals to the sports tournaments, all the way down to some of the plants you see on some of our interchanges. It all comes up from Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Ernie.
You're welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Madam Mayor, while the rec center is here, could I have a word? Ernie, I just, okay. We appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Extra notes. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate you.
So we'll have a few remarks by the aldermen, so don't leave yet, Will.
Yeah.
I'll recognize J.R. Gorham.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you so very much. Ernie and your team, I just want to say from me to you, thank you and your team for the awesome job that y'all did in the planning of this year's Juneteenth event that we had last Thursday. I mean, we had a record crowd, almost 600 folks, I think, showed up. Your staff planned it, did a great job, got the word out. People came, everybody had a great time. I heard lots and lots of positive things, especially with the drone show and the fireworks. The synchronization came together like it's supposed to, and that was awesome. So I just want you and your staff to know how appreciative we are for the works that y'all do every year. And that is one of those events that is continuing to grow. This is our 4th time that we've had it here in Kernersville, and each year it has grown. I think last year we had about 400 folks, and this year we had about 600 plus, 700, about 700 plus. And so next year we won't shoot for 1,000, okay? But thanks again for you and your team, and let's give them another round of applause, folks.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. We appreciate you. All right, now we'll turn to the business before the board this evening. Our first item is speakers from the floor, and I'll recognize Mattson.
Thank you, board, mayor, citizens, for giving me the opportunity to speak. I just want to give a little information of myself. I've spoken a couple times, and I've said that I'm a conservative. What does that mean? What it means is I put my money where my mouth is. I do what I'm saying I'm going to do. I've spent over $10,000 in the past year alone on conservative causes such as public school lunch debt and school supplies for underprivileged children. So I'm not just up here speaking, I'm also trying to make a difference for conservative causes. The reason I want to speak today is about Senate Bill 205, sponsored by Steve Jarvis. Again, if many people do not know, I know the board knows, but the Raleigh legislature is trying to take away zoning authority from our locally elected representatives and our local citizens. And what they've done is they've added 17 pages to a 2-page bill that was supposed to reform swimming pool regulations to try to backdoor housing reforms, just like House Bill 765. I was in the Louisville council meeting, and I even heard that Jeff Sanger himself admits that all these bills don't guarantee low cost or affordable housing. They increase supply, but supply for who? Who are the people in Raleigh representing? The people in their district or the people that want to move into their district? I say, if you're elected, you're supposed to represent the people in your district. Now, I wanted to speak more about this, but recent events have caused me to interrupt what I want to say. I want to remind everybody of the cowardly assassinations of lawmakers in Minnesota. I hope I don't need to remind everybody that violence is never the answer. We have all kinds of means to express our discontent through referendums, through meetings, through elections. But the idea that a person who is generally considered well off would stoop to impersonating a police officer and killing people is just reprehensible and has no place in the United States of America or anywhere for that matter. So what I'm really saying is there must be a new world order of politics, one where it's not us versus them. It starts with local government, which is so important because those who govern closest to the people govern best. You may disagree with the things that he espoused. You may think $45 million of taxpayer money to spend on driving around equipment in DC is not conservative, while our veterans, police, firefighters, EMS, and teachers are underfunded and underpaid, but violence is just not the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sin. Okay, item 1B. Well, let me ask, is there anyone else who'd like to address the board on a non-agenda item? That's the only speaker card I got. But I'll give, if there's somebody else who has something they'd like to express on an item that is not otherwise included on the agenda, I'll recognize you now. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to 1B, which is consideration of a temporary street closure request and downtown event request by Savage Roasters.
Madam Mayor and Board, this is an event request for the All Mountains Matter 5K and Block Party. I think this is either the third or fourth year of the event. It's always been a very well-organized and well-managed event in the past. Has good attendance. This year it's October the 5th, starts at 9 a.m. with the 5K, and then it will end at 7 p.m. with the block party. And they're asking to close just a portion of North Main Street from around where the Nationwide Insurance is up to about, I think, Little Brothers Brewery, somewhere in that area. Staff's looked at it. We don't have any issue with it. As in the past, like I say, it's always been well managed and well organized, and we anticipate the same again this year.
All right, any questions, or do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson,
Second.
second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, item C is consideration of an ordinance. It is budget amendment number 9.
You have in your packet the memo explaining the budget amendment. There are 3 expenditures, really 3 revenues. The largest of those is in governing body, and that is really an increase to cover what we owe the city of High Point on our revenue share for a portion of the property taxes collected, and that is mainly for the North Point Business Park. They're off Macy Grove Road. What they sent us, actually what we owed them was more than what they anticipated we would owe them, so we have to do a budget amendment to cover that. And then the increase in the recreation department, that's to repair a tractor that was damaged in an accident. We accounted for the revenues last month, so this month it is the expenses there. And then in the special appropriations, we're transferring some money, basically excess revenues, what we've collected in Parks and Rec, transferring that over to a capital reserve fund. I think I explained, kind of went over that several months ago with the board. We'll transfer some of the excess revenues that above and beyond what we projected in the budget into a capital reserve fund to do some future projects with in Parks and Recreation. So you have those 3 expenses. We are recognizing some revenue. We have an increase of $462,000 in interest on investments, escrows, property tax collection, PAL bill funds. And then we have an increase of $222,000 in the sale of fixed assets, and that is primarily from the sale of the property on Tig Lane. We projected collecting a little more than what was actually collected, but then when we had the house come in, it netted out to $220,000. So the overall budget amendment, we are decreasing the fund balance appropriated by $447,000. Be glad to answer any questions the board may
Yes,
have.
Piedmont Commerce Center, is it split between Forsyth County and Guilford County?
I think it might, do you know if it's split? I think the kind of the eastern part of it's in
The
Guilford.
bulk of it is in Guilford County, but I think there may be a little bit that's in Forsyth.
I think the part closest to Macy Grove Road is in Forsyth, but as Ms. Garner said, the bulk is in Guilford. But that's in the triangle area that we split with High Point. We revenue share.
Those buildings are so massive. Are there any that are in, part of the building is in one county and part of the building's in another county?
I think all of the buildings are actually in Guilford County. There may be one that has not been built that will be part Forsyth and part Guilford. But when I looked them up on the tax map, I think all of them were in Guilford, I think.
I was curious because it's a pretty new development, so this
I can-
is a recent issue.
If you give me a second, I can look and tell you, but I think they're all Guilford as far as the buildings go. There actually is one building that shows it split. The very first building, the one furthest to the west. And this is on the tax map, so it could be off enough, but it shows the bulk of the building, kind of the front part of the building, as being in Forsyth, and the very back corner of the building is being in Guilford. So I don't know how they worked that out with the taxes, but the other 3 buildings that are out there right now are all in Guilford.
Is that anything we need to be involved in, or is that something the property owner will take care of with the tax office?
That's between the tax office and the county and the property owner.
I wonder if there's more equipment in the buildings than they anticipated, faster, than High Point.
No, I think
Necessitate.
they just got, they got some of the buildings up, from what was initially thought, and then also the value of the apartments. That's also part of that agreement, and they went up.
Okay. All right, thank you for the explanation, Curtis. Appreciate it, and Catherine. All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson,
Second.
second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, we are to consideration of a resolution declaring property surplus and authorizing disposal.
This is another resolution to sell some radios to another agency here in the trad. We sold some, I think, last month or the month before last, to 2 different agencies. These are radios, portable radios in the fire rescue department, and we are asking the board's approval to sell 5 of the surplus radios with batteries, antennas, clips, and the remote speakers to the Clemens Fire Department for a total of $5,375. And that's in line with what the board approved selling to the other agencies for.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion for approval by Alderman Gorham. Second by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, item E is consideration of a resolution authorizing a contract for transit services for seniors and individuals with disabilities. And we have some printed items, but they've also been loaded to the website. And an explanation by Mr. Swisher.
Yes, we've had this program in place since 2013. It started out, it was operated through WISTA, then it became Archangels and Trad Transportation, and now it's Anchor Mobility. It is the bus that you see in the far lower parking lot, the far end of that parking lot. It runs, is what it does is it provides bus service for our seniors or those on disabilities. It runs mainly to the nursing homes, assisted livings, centers, goes down to South Main Street, goes over to the hospital, different areas. It's been a good service. Like I say, we've had it in place since 2013. We look at the route, community development handles it, the grant and the route. We change the route as necessary so that we can get the most ridership and reach the most folks as possible. But it's a year-long contract. Funding is for 3 years. It's an 80-20 grant. It's for 3 years. We can opt out of it at any time with no penalty, but you have to approve the contract on a yearly basis. Is that correct?
I think the last time we bid it out, and Anchor Mobility was our winning bidder, that it was a 1-year contract that could be renewed multiple years, but it's renewed on a yearly basis with our provider. And we just decided to put it back out, and they were the only bidder this year as well.
Yep. So we are recommending approval to go with Anchor Mobility again to provide that service.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion to approve by Alderman Penix, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, we have the consent agenda. These matters are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member or citizen so request, in which event the matter will be removed from the consent agenda and considered under the following item. A is approval of minutes for May 12. B, approval of minutes for May 28. C, approval of minutes for June 3rd. D, consideration of an ordinance for Forsyth County to collect Town of Kernersville taxes for 2025. E, consideration of an ordinance for Forsyth County to collect Town of Kernersville taxes for prior years. Is there anyone who'd like to see any of these items removed from the consent agenda in the audience? Seeing none, is there any staff or board member who'd like to see any of these items removed? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson, second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right. Now we have a briefing on the July 8th meeting agenda items. As we begin, though, I think we have a potential amendment to the agenda. Mr. Swisher, if you want to cover that first.
Yes, y'all have, you have the motion in front of you. There's an item we need, two items that we need to add. It's the same item, but it's broken into two different parts. And that is the approval of the nonprofit funding contracts for fiscal year 25-26. You all approved the amount of that funding in the budget, but you have to approve each contract individually. You can do it as a group as long as none of you are on the board of that particular nonprofit. So we've got one that kind of needs to get, some dates have changed for them, so they need their funding early July as opposed to kind of late May or next year. So we'd like to ask to amend the July 8th agenda to include those contracts. I think you have a motion in front of you that I prepared if you'd like to so move to do that.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to approve the motion to amend July 8th agenda to include the following. Item 2B, consideration of approval of nonprofit funding contract from the general fund for fiscal year 25-26. And also item 2C, consideration of approval of nonprofit funding contract for the occupancy tax fund for fiscal year 25-26.
I have a motion by Alderman Gorham,
Second.
second by Alderman Penix. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right. Mr. Swisher, if you could continue with the briefing on the agenda.
Item 1A and 1B are related to the same piece of property. It's the property at 213 Patterson Street. Need to asking the board to amend the Kernersville land use plan and a rezoning from RS7 to pedestrian business. This is Marble Granite World, already on that property. This property is on Patterson Street, which backs up right to their current property. And I think that zoning is in line with probably what they have on the rest of their zoning over there. Item C and D are related to the same piece of property. This is the old Wilson Tire Shop and Country Store on Mountain Street. They're looking at amending the land use plan from low density residential to commercial neighborhood scale. So basically neighborhood business. Going with the rezoning, it go from RS12 to neighborhood business. Both of these were heard at the planning board. There were no opposition, I don't think, to either one of these at the planning board. Item E and F is also the same property. One is, item E is to amend the land use plan from low density residential to medium density residential, and to amend the thoroughfare plan, which would remove the proposed Brookdale Forest extension and proposed Slate Road extension. This is for property on Brookford Road. If you go down Medical Parkway toward the hospital, the property's on the right-hand side of the road there on, actually turn on Brookford Road and then the property's on the left. The rezoning is going from RS20 to RM5C. And again, it's 42.87 acres. And I think this was denied at the planning board.
Yes, it was a staff recommendation for approval and a planning board recommendation for denial on both cases.
So those are the three cases. You've got 6 public hearings, but each of them have 2, a land use plan and a rezoning.
Could we get the minutes then from that meeting?
Yes, they are being reviewed right now.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions on any of these public hearings? All right, then the rest of the public session would be the items Mr. Swisher previously explained, because that would be 2A as speakers from the floor, and then the motion the board just approved this evening adds item 2B and 2C relating to the follow-up from the budget as to the nonprofits. I guess the thing I would tell the board is to look at the list of the nonprofits that we fund and let us know if you're a member of a board or very involved or have a spouse working at one of those nonprofits so we can clear the conflicts. Is there any other conflict that you can think of that we would need to check? Or Curtis? Okay. All right. And if that's the case, if you have that situation, then you would not vote on the funding for that particular nonprofit. And just to explain to everybody why we do this, again, a change in state law, but you could have a situation with a very involved board, and sometimes as a member of the board, if an entity gets funding from the town, there's a requirement that they accept a member of the board to be on their board. And you could have a situation where state law requires a majority of the board to vote on the budget to pass it, so 4 out of 5 would have to, and you could have different people serving on different boards, and you could get into a situation where no one would be able to vote on the budget at all. So how we've done it, which is the recommendation, is to all the nonprofit funding goes into one line item, and then we have a second meeting where we break it out so that the Little League funding, like Curtis mentioned, or occupancy tax funding gets allocated to those organizations. So that is why we've added that to the agenda. And last year we did it in August, but we're just going to move it up a little bit this year. There's no requirement as to when we do it. All right, that brings us to tonight and the town manager's report.
Madam Mayor, I have one item. Didn't make it on the agenda, but the fire department has been researching some grant funding, possible grant funding. We have used this particular grant in the past. It's been several years, but we have utilized it. It is SAFER grant funding, and it pays for a percentage for 3 years. It pays for a percentage of firefighter personnel. So we're asking the board to approve us to apply for the grant. Certainly not accepting the grant. It would come back to the board. If we are awarded the grant and the board accepts it, year 1, the town would be responsible for just 25% of the salaries, actually for year 1 and 2. For year 3, we would be responsible for 65%. Beyond that, we would be responsible for all of it. So what we're looking at, as you all are aware, you voted to have 6 new personnel for the rescue truck. To completely staff that truck without having to pull from other trucks takes 12. So we're looking at applying for the 6 personnel that we would need sometime in the future. It takes anywhere from 6 months to a year to find out about the grant. So if we apply for it now, we might hear the results of that by the time we do the fiscal year 26-27 budget. If not, we would certainly know by the 27-28 budget. So all this is doing is giving us permission to apply for the grant. Then when we hear about it, if we are in fact awarded the grant, we would bring it back to you all to decide at that time whether or not you would like to accept the grant and move forward with it. And so tonight you would just be voting on the application. The application close date is July 3rd of 2025. That's why it's on That's why I'm bringing it up tonight instead of putting it on the next agenda.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson, second by Alderman Barrow. All in favor? It's unanimous.
And I have one more item, Madam Mayor. We have an employee in public services, Jeff Meeks. He has been named the Solid Waste Employee of the Year for the entire state of North Carolina. So Dorn told me that today, so I wanted to recognize Jeff Meeks for that award. He's been with the town for several years and does a great job there in public services. So he will be recognized as that employee at I'm not sure when the recognition of it will be from the state. Have they said, Dorn? July the 29th. So if you'd like to recognize him at a future board meeting, we can arrange for that as well.
I think that's an excellent idea. Congratulations.
And I don't have anything else.
Do you have anything that you will bring up at the July 8 meeting that you know?
Not that I'm aware of right now.
Okay. All right, so we will move on to matters to be presented by the town attorney.
Madam Mayor, I do not have a report tonight, but we do have need for a closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. All right, matters to be presented by the mayor and board of aldermen. Mr. Penix, would you like to start? Okay. Alderman Gorham?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would like to also, in recognition of our great parks and recreation, I also like to extend the same types of thank you to our police department, fire department, public works, and all other departments here in the town of Kernersville that contributed to the Juneteenth celebration that we had last Thursday. Everybody came together, worked together as a team, and it just came off flawless. So kudos and thank you to the town of Kernersville, our leadership for recognizing the holiday and appropriating the funds, and allowing departments to participate and help us celebrate that momentous occasion. Thank you.
And I'd add to that the Kernersville Christian Ministers Fellowship for the prayer tent and some giveaways they offered, and the Kiwanis, who did an incredible job of giving a free book to every child who attended, and it was an amazing selection of books. So we appreciate, and they did not run out. So we appreciate both of those organizations also helping to make that event a success. And around the corner, we have got the 4th of July parade and fireworks and concert at the park. And so there's information on Kernersville's social media for Kernersville Parks and Rec for all the details of the times. But Ernie, if you would like to share quickly the times. The parade, of course, is organized by the Rotary Club. There is a run ahead of it. Curtis, do you know if there's still open registration for the run?
There he is, yes.
So there's more information about the parade and the run online.
In terms of the fireworks and concert,
No?
Have you got it on?
green. Yeah, how about that?
That's better.
There you go.
In terms of the show and the fireworks, show will start at 6, same as every year. Fireworks will probably go off around 9:15, 9:20 when it's dark enough. We've always shot for 9, but it's always around 9:15. Just wanted to get dark enough so you can see. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Mr. Barra,
I don't have anything tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Thompson,
I have nothing, thank you.
thank you. All right. And definitely stay cool, everyone. Drink lots of water and stay cool. All right. We do have the closed session. Do I have a motion to go into the closed session?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3, I move that the board go into closed session to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Gorham, a second by Alderman Barrow. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, this meeting is now in closed session. Welcome back to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. There is one matter I'd like to address with the board. At the meeting today, some of the people in the audience were using the hearing support. It's an aid we have on the agenda that's available to people to use if they have a need for it. And so I'd like us to order a few more pairs so we have enough for anybody visiting the meeting as well as, yes. Can you use your microphone, John?
Turned it off, my bad. Is there not a way to allow you to hook up, like I got hearing aids that will do Wi-Fi and it'll communicate with anything? Why can't it communicate with this thing, is what I'm saying, whatever technical stuff you have to do that.
And Curtis, your microphone's off too.
Yeah. My hearing aid ladies, I was telling her about the setup here, and she said, oh, you ought to be able just to, tune into this
Okay.
and have it do my hearing aids instead of using that.
We've honestly never checked.
Right.
So we'll check and see if there's a way to do that. If it is,
I'm sure there is, and I'm sure it would be a minor thing.
Yeah, we'll get that. If there is,
broadcast
we'll
in
get
one
it
room.
working. And I think, Mayor, we have some more of those as well. If we don't, we'll order some.
I'm not sure we have very many.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we ordered like 10
Okay.
to begin with, but that's been several years, so that some of them may not work. But we'll check on it and get some more ordered, and we'll also check on the question Alderman Barra asked.
You might check into Apple might have a product that John could use for that.
I'm probably sure they're the sole provider of that. They're probably the sole provider, so then Mr. Barrows, you'll have to decide whether or not he wants to use it. And it probably has a big apple on the side of it too. We'll see if we can find another brand for you.
All right, is there any further business before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn by Mayor Pro Tem Thompson,
Second.
second by Alderman Gorham. All in favor? It's unanimous. This meeting is now adjourned.